everybody. You guys would not believe what I have been through tonight to live stream. We have audio issues here, as you guys know probably from my other live streams, and we have yet to figure out why we have those audio issues. So please let me know if once again we have audio issues, because I don't know what I'm going to do about it, but I'm probably going to scream. Things have been insane. I know I talked to you guys yesterday and everything, but literally I have spent the last hour trying to figure out how to not have my microphone, like all of a sudden it just started echoing, and then there was like a bunch of other stuff going on. I just finally got it fixed, and then I was having issues going live on Instagram and going live on YouTube for some reason, and I could not tell you for the life of me why it was giving me so many problems. And you know what? I don't know, man. I don't know. You know, it's one of those things that I feel like I don't know. I'm not techie, you know, but we have some homemade kombucha. So life is good. Life is good. Welcome here. Welcome. I know I sound crazy, but that's just because I've been battling technology for the last hour, and I am a little crazy. But don't let that stop you from listening to this live stream, because I'm quite fun, actually. Clay, you made it. Yes, Alex, finally. Oh, the audio, man, the audio. So, okay, all right. Let's see here. Let us get involved in questions. Yes, so I want questions. We'll answer some of them, and we'll kind of just get started. Already so many questions. When and why did you first go searching for the faith? So I was a cradle Catholic. So my parents raised me in the faith, but I fell away for about 8 years when I was around 11 years old. And basically what transpired between... Are you sure you can't hear me? Because I think unless... Okay, I'm going to assume people can still hear me unless somebody tells me otherwise. So I was basically born and raised going to both the Latin Mass and the Novus Ordo. I really didn't take my faith seriously, to be honest. I didn't like it. I felt like it was really boring. There were a lot of rules, a lot of restrictions, and I kind of just wanted to do what my friends are doing. And so I felt like I couldn't do those things with, all the rules and restrictions the church had. So I fell away from the church, and in the amount of time that I fell away from the church and I came back, I struggled with an eating disorder. I had really, really bad friends, some good friends, but a lot of them were really bad influences on me in a lot of different ways. I was introduced to pornography when I was around 11 or 12 years old, so that was really a tough time. That started an 8-year-long addiction, maybe 9, depending on when I actually kind of quit, because I quit when I came back into the faith, but it wasn't overnight, obviously. And yeah, it was just really chaotic. So I went in search for the faith. I didn't actually go and search for the faith. I think God really found me. So when I was probably about 19, that was like rock bottom year for me. Like 2020 was really hard, I think, for a lot of us for a lot of different reasons. But for me specifically, it was really hard because I just felt so empty. And after so many years of carrying the burden of pornography addictions and just abusive relationships and friendships, just feeling really hollow and like shallow, I basically had this, I guess you could say, rock bottom moment where I was just in my bed for days. I didn't really get up for anything. I didn't shower. And I remember kind of like just being in a slump. I mean, I was struggling with an eating disorder, self-harm, body dysmorphia. I mean, there was just so much going on in my life. And so I remember kind of just being in bed, and I rolled over and I saw that it was Sunday, and I was like, oh, Sunday, okay. Thinking about all the different things I had to do for school, for work. I was working at the time, and just everything like that. And I was just not in the mood to do anything, as most people, would be in that situation. So I definitely I don't know how to explain it, but I just had a moment of realization, just kind of thinking to myself like, oh wow, I'm kind of just stuck here. Like, I don't feel like there's any way out. And that's a really scary thing, like, realization to have. Of course, that's not true. Of course, the realization was I could have gotten out of it. I could have gotten out of bed, but it just felt that way at the time. And so for me, I was really struggling, and something just popped into my head. I don't know if it was from my guardian angel or what, but I remembered going to Mass as a kid. I remember having a foundation. I remembered eating meals together as a family. It was a happier time. And so the one thing that changed was that I no longer had God in my life. And despite the fact that I still didn't really like the idea of God, I was still quite angry at him. I thought that maybe through going to Mass, I would, I don't know, have some nostalgia. I would find something that I was missing. So I got up and I dressed myself for Mass and I went to Mass. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, but I went to Mass and I walked in. I was sitting in a pew and I got sandwiched by people, and good thing I did, because I was having, a ton of, so many intrusive thoughts about just like running out. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to, be a part of like, anything. Like I wanted out. And I mean, obviously that was temptation from the devil. And I think we all have moments like that where we just feel like, I need to get out of here. I need to leave. And so I had a moment like that, but there were people on either side of me, and being too much of an introvert, I was too shy to actually ask them to get up and move. And also I thought that would draw too much attention to myself. And so I did my best to just like not, to not do that. But yeah. And so I definitely struggled for a good part of the Mass. I just wanted to leave. And then I had a moment of like, oh, I can leave during communion. So I was like, everyone's going to get up and go to the front. So if I can like basically get up and just leave, nobody's going to notice me. So I was waiting for communion. I was holding out for communion. And then during the consecration, during transubstantiation, the priest held up Jesus and time froze. I felt like I was having an episode. I was like, this is a little low for a panic attack or something, but it was very scary at first. I didn't feel, I didn't feel like afraid. I just felt like, this is weird. Like, I'm going crazy. And then the host from the priest's hands had this light that was emitting from it. And Jesus spoke into my heart. He said, "Do you trust me?" And I didn't know much about Divine Mercy at the time. I knew about the Divine Mercy Chaplet and I prayed it as a child, but I didn't really know about Divine Mercy. And at first I was kind of baffled, you know what I mean? I was a little bit confused. And so for me, having to kind of realize like, oh, God's speaking to me, I told him, no, like, I don't trust you. Why did you allow me to go through all of this pain? Tons of stuff. I'm kind of glossing over it because it's kind of a long story, but I did a whole interview on Keith Nestor's YouTube channel. You guys can go check out. And basically Jesus kept asking me like, do you trust me? Do you trust me? Do you trust me? And I describe it as like a chisel and a pick. Like he was chiseling away the stone cold parts of my heart is how I describe it, by just constantly asking, do you trust me? Do you trust me? And, I just kind of had this realization, and this is stuff that I realize as I look back on it and things. I had this realization that God never abandoned me. I'm the one who left him. And here he is, willing to welcome me back with open arms. And I'm the one who strayed. I'm the one who, yes, I'm not responsible for the abuse that happened and being introduced to pornography or anything like that. But at the same time, I am now an adult and I have a responsibility to, I guess, I have a responsibility to take responsibility for my own actions. Why am I becoming the abuser of myself, basically? Like, I was abused. Why am I now abusing myself by not trying to get better, not trying to put in the effort and the time to quit these addictions that are making me so miserable? And so I had that realization. And as I had that realization, I told God, I'm like, you know what? I will try to trust you. And from that moment on, I really did have like the biggest, like, I don't know, just like a complete 180 in my life where everything just suddenly made sense. It clicked into place. And I realized like I either have to be all in or not in at all in this situation. I can't go back to my old life the way it was. And I refuse to go back to that. And it wasn't easy. I mean, it wasn't like there was a big change, but it was not easy. I think a lot of people think as soon as I give my life to Christ or whatever, it's going to be butterflies and rainbows. It's not. And we shouldn't be afraid of that. That's not to, scare us or anything like that. But it's also important to realize that we should not be expected to be treated any less or more than how Jesus was treated while he walked on this earth. Like, he is the true example. And so for me, I was like, I have to be all in on this. Like, this can't be like a week thing and then a phase or whatever. And people thought it was a phase. I think when I finally started telling people, especially my boyfriend at the time, who just didn't really understand, because literally not even a week ago, I was like bashing the Catholic Church, and now all of a sudden I'm very, very Catholic. It just it doesn't really make sense in some ways for somebody who's never had that type of conversion before. But I mean, it was one of those things where I feel like I just needed it, and God knew it was time. And so he called me back. And so that's what I did. I came back because I listened. I was like, you know what? I've tried everything else. And I think we all need to go through a process like that at some point where we stray for a while, but then he brings us back, if we're open to graces and if we're open to him. It can be very difficult, though. I will say that. But so long story short, I basically didn't go in search of the church. I can't really say that I did that. I did, however, get called back, and I did listen in that way. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Oh, I should probably also keep in mind that I got Instagram over here too. Hopefully Instagram's working, because sometimes it doesn't work, and that's really annoying. Okay, I just got engaged as a married Catholic. How do you recognize and respond to spiritual warfare during the engagement and early marriage period? Oh my goodness. Oh, the spiritual warfare is real. We had so many problems when it came to just wanting to get married. So many problems. And I love so many people involved, but it was so much more difficult than it needed to be. And the best thing I can say is that you and your fiance need to get used to saying the word no together. You both need to get used to standing up to people who you otherwise haven't stood up to before. For most people, this is usually their parents. It might be somebody else. It depends on your situation. But there's always going to be maybe an aunt who's like, oh, you're not going to have roast beef at the wedding? Oh, I can't believe you wouldn't have roast beef at the wedding. It's going to be chaotic. Everybody's going to have their opinions about your wedding. But what really matters is that you and your fiance are on the same page. Because if you guys are on the same page, everything else goes smoothly. You can tell people no, unless the only reason I say that maybe you would have to listen to somebody is if they're paying for it. So if they're paying for it, I would say then, yeah, you probably would have to go along with it. But if they're not paying for it, you don't have to listen to anybody. You can do whatever you want with whatever you want. Max and I, we put so much effort and money into the ceremony itself. My parents were very gracious. They paid for our venue, I guess you could say, like party afterwards, which was beautiful, amazing. And it was perfect, but there were so many hiccups with just, trying to get things done, planning, venues, food. And there was a lot of emotional stress that went along with it. But I think as long as you and your fiance do not view each other as the problem, you view everything else outside, you guys are not the enemies with each other. Although sometimes it may seem that way, and sometimes you might be like, oh, it would be so much easier if they just did this or whatever. At the end of the day, really, the spiritual attacks are going to come from the outside. And if you guys have a strong foundation of prayer, You both are going to confession. You both have a great understanding of the faith, and you guys understand and communicate well with each other. Also, learning each other's temperaments is very, very important. So highly, highly suggest that. You guys can also check out the Piety and Personality Temperaments of the Saint book by Rosemary McGuire Berry. Just interviewed her. That interview's going up at some point next week. But it's just really important that you guys are on the same page with everything. Communicate, over communicate. There can never be too much communication. Max and I have communicated about anything and everything that could possibly go wrong or that did go wrong or anything. And, you know, at the time, I just am so blessed that we saw it through and that we were able to stick together. So yeah, it made us stronger at the end of the day. You know, my father was diagnosed with cancer while we were engaged. We had a lot of problems, you know, getting stuff done, but we never viewed each other as the enemy, and we were always just each other's support team. So I would say just keep praying, make sure that you guys are counseling, you know, going to confession, talking with a priest, and all that stuff. So hang in there. But congratulations on getting engaged. That's so exciting. Father Mark, welcome. Welcome, Father Mark. Not sure if you're interested in changing topic, but the AI stuff is getting more and more insane. Oh my goodness. Are you getting into the AI possibilities? Okay. AI is driving me nuts. And let me tell you why. I have found, and now this isn't, I don't know, I guess this isn't like every situation, but I have found more and more people using AI and just the human population becoming more dumb, okay? I get that AI can be good for a lot of things. I've used it to help me find certain links or resources or to compile information. I always do all of my own fact checking though and make sure that it's accurate. I never just go based off of what AI says. It's just insane. I think though, AI can be a lot of fun. One of my Jude crew people made an AI video of a baby that's talking like me. It's really funny. I am all for using AI as a tool. My issue is when people use it and they basically do content farming through AI. So for me, as a Catholic creator, you know, content creator, I put in a lot of work. I put in many hours getting scripts written, filming videos, doing recordings, making sure that all my information's factual. And then there are a lot of people out there who have millions of followers who use AI and barely put in any work, or they sell courses through AI. So I am like, there are some great things about AI, Father Mark, and it's really great that you're using them for some fun videos. I think that's really fun. I do love using AI for a couple fun videos. Yeah, I made some AI memes not too long ago. I don't know if I can show you guys this. I don't know if I still have them. I sent them to my husband and we laugh about them quite often. Let me see if I can find some of them because the AI memes are just awful. Yeah, here we go. It's so bad. Let's go with just okay, so basically what I do is I take a random picture and I put it into AI and I say like, convert this into a meme, a silly meme or whatever. And what it comes up with is just like the dumbest stuff. So this one, you know what? No, that one's not appropriate, but just like weird. There's like this one. I don't know if you guys can see it really. Okay, there. And it's just the dumbest thing. It says, when you finally get your coffee just right, perfection, ! It's really funny. Oh, it's just kind of crazy though with AI and everything. My husband taught high school for a little bit, and those kids, he taught sophomores and seniors. They can't read. They cannot write. I have seen the homework that he had brought home to grade. They could not read or write. Not even complete sentences. Some of them would leave a page completely blank, and that was it. Sometimes, what was it? They were reading Genesis, and I think one kid, the question was, the homework was basically read 2 paragraphs, not even like a full page or anything. Just read 2 paragraphs and summarize it for me. This is senior work, okay? Senior in high school work. Just basically repeat what you just read on the page here. It's like, what is the Holy Spirit? And some kid, no joke, wrote something along the lines of, well, like, the Holy Spirit is like, actually writing this, so cool, man, because like he's on water and he created water. And also they wouldn't have complete sentences, so because was BC, and they misspelled so many words I couldn't even tell you. It's insane. Yeah, I agree, Father Mark. I feel like it is about to change everything. At the same time, I definitely think that like Kyle, you're saying that, you know, God has something up his sleeve, and I'm excited to see where this goes. Personally, I want to see, you know, because these trends, they always have like an uptick, and then eventually stuff comes out about it, right? Like during 2020 until probably like, I don't know, a couple of years ago, influencers were like all the rage, and now people are like disenchanted with them. They're out of touch. They're very materialistic, very shallow people. They tend to, they tend to try and like swindle people, just whatever. And it's just really crazy to me that now there's like tons and tons of videos. You know, there used to be this whole like, here's my haul that I got from Sephora or something. And that was like all the rage. But now all of a sudden it's coming out that these Instagram creators and these YouTube creators are actually in massive amounts of debt. Not only debt, but also they just do not, most of the stuff they get is free. And consumerism is falling out of fashion now. People are no longer enchanted with it. So I don't know. I'm just saying. So Mr. Lepanto and Kyle just getting into it in the comments. I will be seeing both of you in, well, Mr. Lepanto, I will see you in like 3 weeks. 4 weeks? And then Kyle, I'll probably see you on Sunday. So, but yeah, it's just really, really crazy how AI has kind of taken over. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. These poor kids are being like thrown into a world where they don't have to think. They don't necessarily have to work. They just rack up debt because they're never taught about Roth IRAs or how to save or 401ks or retirement or anything like that. And they just want to live like, you know, they're 20 or maybe not even 20, like they're 15 forever. You know, now there are a lot of people who do work, who are very hard workers and take jobs very seriously and try to, save up and everything like that. But for the most part, it's just crazy to me how I don't know. I feel like a lot of the kids are just kind of being sucked into this world. And yeah, it's just crazy because I don't think, first of all, I should say too, there's no like real incentive for Gen Z or Gen Alpha to work. There's no work hours are insane. The pay isn't even enough to actually succeed in life. And so most of them just brain rot all day. And I know kids, and I've babysat for almost 15 years. And I've looked at the kids that I've raised, in the 2010s, babysat in the 2010s versus some more recent kids that I've been babysitting. The dynamics are completely different. Like iPad kids versus like 90s childhood kids, completely different. And it's just sad to see, it's just kind of sad to see that they are not really, I don't know, they're not excited about life. They're not excited about getting their first job. They're not excited about going to college because most of the time college is now a scam and you're going to be in debt for years, student loans. I knew one girl, she's in $500,000 in debt of student loans. Student loans. Like, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, that's what I've got. So, anyways, AI, hopefully it won't dumb down the generation too much, but it's just crazy. It is crazy. Faith, hey, just joined. How do you get your veil to stay on? I use bobby pins, but I also have a veil that's kind of more like a linen wrap type of thing. So it just stays on better because it's more grabby material. But I would suggest either getting bobby pins, or you can even sew a clip in. If you look up veil clips on Amazon, you'll see them and you can just easily just sew one in. But yeah, otherwise bobby pins are perfect for that. It's really easy to just kind of put some in. Would you make contraception illegal if you could? Yes, I would. I mean, I thought about it, but I was thinking about it ironically. Oh my gosh. Babe, there's a bug in here. There's a bug. You guys can't hear my husband, but he goes, okay. Anyways, we have like little flies that sometimes come in through the cracks in the windows, which is really annoying, and we just have to kill them. But I guess my light is just attracting them, so it's like, whatever. Anyways, sorry. Of course, Father Mark, I'm so sorry. I've been calling father doctors recently, so like if I see a priest, I'm like, oh, doctor. I'm like, so anyways, sorry. Great seeing you, Father Mark, on my live stream. Hopefully we can collab sometime soon again, because that was really fun. Do I know of any online Latin courses? I do not. Not that I can think of, but if anyone does, definitely like put it in the comments and help a girl out. But, okay. What are your thoughts on Saint Joan of Arc? Yeah, it's Saint Joan of Arc's feast day today. So crazy. I love her. She's great. I think she's really, I don't know. She's just really inspiring. She's also pretty funny. And overall, she's just like, I don't know. She's a badass. Like, I love her. She's great. Let's see. I am trying to shoot my shot as a business owner, and people today want things 90% off, and you have to change your logo to rainbows in June for them to even consider you. Yeah, but if you're trying to start a business, if it's a Catholic business, you should check out Catholic Owned and reach out to them. Brooke is amazing. I work with her sometimes, and she has like, it's basically like Catholic Amazon in a way, where there's a bunch of Catholic stores just on Catholic Owned, and you can feature your store there. You'll find like-minded Catholics, and you'll be able to get people to see your business and everything like that. But yeah, it's really unfortunate where it is. So, oh, my crucifix is actually from House of Joppa. It's one of my most favorite crucifixes I've ever had. And I pray in front of it. I do my morning offering. I do everything in front of this crucifix. So I love her. 10 out of 10. You're the only one at your church that veils, Amy? I mean, that's okay. You know, you're setting a trend. You're setting a trend. Favorite devotions for before Mass. I am a huge advocate in like penance prayers before Mass. Also offertory prayers. So they're not always like scripted or printed or whatever. I sometimes just do them in my head. I go through a list of people that I'm offering the Mass for. A lot of the times it's for you guys, my followers, and of course for my parents and for my sister and her husband. And I do like an act of contrition. I just kind of do a bunch of different prayers. There's also this prayer before Mass by St. Ambrose that I really love. So sometimes if I have my missal with me, I will read that one. But yeah, it's great. Okay. Amber, what can I do for my dad who doesn't believe in the Eucharist other than pray for him? He goes to Mass but won't listen. At least he's still going to Mass. I would say that that's still a win. I would say if you need more power, I would highly suggest fasting and doing prayers for him. Praying is great. I think prayers are just so fantastic, but also fasting for him can add a whole other level of spiritual protection and also influence. I think it's really hard for some people to understand the Eucharist, because how do you love something you don't actually know? And if he's not willing to listen, it can be very difficult. So asking the Holy Spirit to open his heart, and hopefully, he'll be able to come around and eventually believe in the true presence. But until then, fasting and prayer and setting a good example is probably going to be the best thing you can do, for sure. So yeah, definitely try that. But it's hard. It's hard. Okay. I don't have a huge platform on social media, but I do attract a lot of Protestants when I post about Catholic faith. How do you deal with those who attack the faith in the comment section? I think a lot of times we can get wrapped up in the comment section. I don't really look at the comment sections all that often. And that's mainly to protect my own peace. I feel like we forget that we need to protect our own peace to an extent. Now, if you do want to engage with these people, you need to be able to discern whether or not these people are actually worth engaging with. And what I mean by that is that there are just so many trolls out there, people who don't actually want to learn about the faith and will literally just wrap you in to an argument for minutes, maybe hours on end, that just completely waste your time, make you feel frazzled, and causes you to lose your peace and makes you less of a charitable person. So I would say you really do have to discern what conversations are worth having and which ones aren't. And for me personally, those conversations never happen in a comment section. I find that most of the most fruitful conversations I have are people who reach out to me through email, people who DM me, people who, if I ever get to my DMs, I have over 400 unopened DMs. I'm so sorry. People like that, that's what you need to focus on, is the people who want fruitful conversations, because not everybody on the internet wants that. Sometimes they just want to say something to say something. Sometimes they're just going to say something to try to make you upset, rage bait, etc. It can be really difficult, not to fall for it, because we naturally want to defend our faith, and that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. But not every argument is worth giving your time to. And I think a lot of our time can be better spent praying for these people. Haters will be prayed for. So I would suggest just make sure that you're not wasting your time on people who don't actually care. And the only way you're really going to know that is if you engage with them. But sometimes it's not even worth engaging. Sometimes you can just tell by their comment if they're worth engaging with or not. And if you're dealing with the hate in general, I would highly suggest you read the Beatitudes, because that's what helped me so much when I was coming back into my faith, and I didn't have, I guess, I was too scared to really call myself a Catholic, especially online, because I felt like at that time in 2019, 2020, the online media space was really saturated with Protestants and not Catholics, and I didn't want the Protestant friends that I had made to hate me because they would find out I'm Catholic and not just Christian, even though Catholics are Christians, but all Christians are Catholics. So, I was one of those people where if I tried to avoid, telling people I was Catholic. I mean, it was pretty obvious through my videos, but I just tried to avoid it. And I went to confession and I told the priest that. I told him, I'm like, I struggle with this. And he said to take courage and to read the Beatitudes. And that helped me so much. So I put the Beatitudes like everywhere. I had them on my mirror, on my desk, on my window, on my computer. And it really did help me to stay courageous and strong, but also humble, because Jesus, he was ridiculed constantly. And even though he did bite back quite often with the Pharisees, because they needed reprimanding and things of that nature, I also recognize that there are specific people out there who do that way better than I can. Like Catholic Answers, for example, like the apologists are specifically, able to handle apologetics in a specific way, and they do it very well. I'm not an apologist. I don't claim to be. I know enough about the faith, but people have invited me to debates. They're like, oh, debate this Protestant on this. And I'm like, I'm not an apologist. And I'm not about to pretend to be one for a couple clicks and a couple likes. You know what I mean? So for me, I just really didn't want to go down that road. And I think so many other people do it so well that, it's just not my strength. And we need to play into our strengths, and we need to go and cultivate what we are good with, what we're good at. And so, yeah, I would say if you're dealing with hate in the comments section, I would say discern whether or not it's actually worth engaging. And, the mute button is great. It really is. Mute buttons do wonders for me. But yeah, so it's been fun. Oh, hang on. We love kombucha. Okay. I saw one question up here. Hello everybody. Welcome. I'm glad to have you here. So, let's see. We went on like a 4-mile hike today, so I'm like so tired. So I apologize if it's taking me a hot minute. I'm trying to read through everybody. Welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. Yes, Canon. If someone attacks the faith, use humor whenever possible. I have a friend who does that, and it really does make things so much better. I tried to use humor, and then it kind of just backfired because somebody would say something and I'd be like, your mom does that or whatever. And it just ended up coming off more snarky than funny because I was like trying to be like, haha, like, and I was just like, that's probably not the best. So I just ignore things now, but it is best to use humor for sure. Let's see. It is a Catholic party. It's 10 out of 10. Do I ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind? Yes. Do I ever feel like a plastic bag? Okay. Hi, Amber. I'm the only Catholic in my family. My wife and children are not. They support me, but it can be a struggle in my home. I converted 2 years ago. Can you pray for my family? Absolutely. I do my rosary intentions, 100%. And I'm sure we all will. That's the best thing about this community is that everybody really does pull through, which is phenomenal. Okay. Let's see here. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. There's like a lag and it's just like, whew, sometimes they just like fly in so quickly. Okay. Baptizing my baby when my husband is not Catholic. Hard situation to explain, but how can I still respect him and also do what is best for my baby? I pray for him to convert. He's blind to the faith. The most important thing you can do is get your baby baptized. Because at the end of the day, that is your responsibility as a parent, is to get your child to heaven. And unfortunately, your husband is not a part of that yet. And I do pray that he eventually will be. But as a mother and knowing the fullness of the faith, you do have that responsibility to have your child baptized. He may not understand it right now. If possible, I would say just try and have a conversation with him, try to explain it to him. And if he's not receptive, you do still have a responsibility as a parent to get that child baptized, because baptism is necessary for salvation. And again, the whole point of a parent is getting your child to heaven. And without baptism, that's not possible. And of course, we can go into the different types of baptism by blood, baptism by desire, but water baptism specifically is necessary for baptism in general is necessary for salvation. And so as a parent, you do have that responsibility, which is hard. It's hard. I don't want to downplay your situation, because it's really difficult when your spouse is not on the same page as you. And I understand that that's probably a lot of stress, a lot of tension in the relationship. I would say same thing that I said for the girl's father, for Amber's father, is to pray and fast for a conversion, because praying and fasting for your spouse truly is so powerful. Saint Monica is a great example of that for her son. She literally followed him for like many, many, many years. I think it was always over like 17 years or something. That was so crazy. So anyways, yes, it's great. Yes, Alex, sometimes you do just got to hit them with the, anyway. So yeah, but definitely hang in there and get that baby baptized. That is Very important. Sorry, I like to cross my legs when I sit. Okay, apparently Instagram just never worked. Sorry, people over on Instagram. That's my bad. So, yeah. Wait, was it working on Instagram, Paul? Because on my end, it said it never connected. No, did I end it? And like everyone on Instagram can no longer see me? Oh no. I'm so sorry. That's my bad. That's my bad, guys. Oh my goodness. Okay. Hey Amber, what are your thoughts on the people being denied to receive Jesus on the tongue? It happened to my brother once. Do you know anyone that it's happened to? Yes, it's happened to myself. It's happened to my husband multiple times. It's against canon law, actually, for a priest to deny someone communion on the tongue. So they're actually breaking canon law. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize that. Wait, it's still up, Paul? Is my Instagram still up? What? I'm sorry, I'm not even going to worry about it. I don't know. Whatever happens on Instagram happens. I'm so sorry, guys. Anyways, yeah, so it's against canon law to actually deny someone communion on the tongue. I don't remember the exact canon law, but you guys can Google it. There was like this whole thing. I remember because one of our priest friends was becoming a canon lawyer. Like there was like this whole thing and he had to go through it and he was being quizzed. And somebody was like, oh, is it against canon law for somebody to be denied communion on the tongue? And I was like, yes, it is against canon law. And it was great. It was a real wholesome experience. They were very impressed. And I also, too, was impressed. Anyways, yeah, not great. Unfortunately, some priests just don't understand it, or they think that people who receive on the tongue are like virtue signaling. And it's very unfortunate that they view it that way. I would say pray for those priests. You know, truly, we need to pray for the priests. It's hard. It's hard. My sister walked away from the Catholic faith. I don't think she's... Sorry. They just like jumped crazy. Okay. I don't think she believes in God anymore. How do I evangelize to her? I'm trying to think about when I was in my situation. When anyone ever tried to talk to me about God back when I fell away from the church, I didn't want to hear it. I was very angry. I was very hostile when anyone ever brought up God. And it was only in my like very young, it was only in like my pits of like despair that I actually reached out to God at times. And so I would say the best way that you can evangelize to her is through your life. If she's someone who's more hostile towards God, I would say that the best way to evangelize to her is to live the gospel out in your own life. Walk with her, because sometimes you do need to walk with somebody. I don't think St. Francis actually said it, but he is said to have said, you know, preach the gospel and when necessary, use words. So I would say, you know, just let her know that you're there for her and that you care for her and that you want what's best for her, because that's the true definition of love, is willing the good of another. So I would highly suggest that, you know, maybe don't preach at her, maybe don't try to get her to, I don't know, talk about God. But if you walk with her and she realizes like, oh, he really cares about me, and she sees the love of Christ in you, she might be more receptive to it in her own life. And then you can maybe start asking her to go to mass with you, see if that works. It can be very difficult, though, I will say, especially when family members have fallen away from the church. Sometimes it's playing the long game. It was 8 years for me. You know, my sister was praying for me to come back for about 8 years. 8 years. So sometimes it is the long game, you know, but it is possible. You know, all things are possible through God. So you never know, but pray and fast for her. I'm going to say that about like everything. There's nothing that praying and fasting can't help. So hopefully that helps. But yes, definitely praying for your sister. That's really tough for sure. Honestly, I only received on the tongue because I didn't know how to put my hands, or I did know how to put my hands when I was taught. Yeah, you know, you'll have that too. 10 out of 10. Oh my goodness. Sorry, there are so many questions piling in. I appreciate all of your questions. So sorry I can't get to all of them. Best Bible commentary in your opinion? Probably The Bible in the Year by Father Mike Schmitz. Father Mike's phenomenal, and I met him last weekend, and it was great. Like, he's phenomenal. Could not say more great things about him. He's great. So I also suggest the Catechism in a Year. I really want to get back into that, the Bible in a Year and Catechism in a Year. I feel like I've listened to the first 5 episodes of the Bible in a Year podcast like a million times, and I've only gotten that far. One of these days I'll get through it, I promise, but one of those days cannot come soon enough, you know? It's just so crazy. I do wish, though, to an extent, that I was better at, like, I don't know, like being organized, maybe is the right word. I don't know. It is. Yes, Clay. Jesus did say when you fast, not if you fast. Very true. And I am very fast. Guys. I'm funny, right? All right. Let's see. Okay, our practicing Catholic daughter has been dating a Marxist atheist for 7 years. His heart is hard against the faith. All in the family don't like him, and she doesn't see the issues. Yeah. Okay. I'll share a story here. I don't know if this is going to be helpful. Maybe it will be. I'm not going to name any actual names. I'm just going to call people whatever because, you know, it is what it is. So I dated on and off a guy for many, many years. And the entire time, I just couldn't see how bad the relationship was. It truly felt like a spiritual fog in a way. I was not a practicing Catholic when we first met and started dating and everything like that. But as time went on and then I reverted, I was still dating him and he was really confused, you know, that kind of thing. And so for me, I just felt like this was normal. I felt like he was fine. I felt like our relationship was fine. We'd been on and off for years. And even though it was pretty toxic and we really were not good for each other whatsoever, but we still had this weird infatuation with each other. It was very odd. When I actually broke things off for the very last time, it almost felt like fog had lifted. Like all of a sudden, I saw the relationship for what it was. I saw how damaging it was for both of us. And because I did truly care about him and the situation we were in, but I knew that we were just bad for each other, I broke it off. And then all of a sudden, this realization just hit me like, oh my gosh, the last however many years we dated was just toxic and horrible. And we were like fire and gasoline. Like it was just bad. But I didn't see it while I was in the relationship, even though people even tried telling me. They literally told me up front. My best friend literally told me and was trying to like get me to understand and to see what I just could not see. I couldn't understand. I wasn't ready. And we were on and off dating for many, many years. And then I broke off the entire thing because I was like, this is it. This is the last time. I need to do this for both of us because this is the only way that either of us are actually going to heal and move on. It's not going to end in marriage. We would be horrible in a marriage. And I refused to move in because I'm a practicing Catholic. You know, we're not going to live together. And so I broke things off. And that was the best decision I could have made. And even though there were definitely probably some hardships in there and some difficulties, I mean, it was just insane, you know, truly, the amount of just toxicity that happened in our relationship that I was not aware of. And then I met Max. And, well, technically we were friends, of course, but when I was dating, you know, obviously I only had eyes for the person I was dating. But then I saw Max and I started watching him more closely and we started actually talking a whole lot more, just us and hanging out more. And I realized I'm like, here's a good Catholic man who goes to confession. I don't have to drag him to Mass on Sundays. Like, he's attractive to me. Why not date someone like him, if not him? And I remember sitting down with my spiritual director and, I was like, I just really want a good Catholic man. And my spiritual director was like Max? And I was just like, well, like, I don't know, because, like, I don't know if he's actually interested or, like, whatever. And he was just like, okay. And then Max and I started dating, like, a couple months later. So, yeah, it was just really fun. It was just crazy. So anyways, I definitely think that there are just times where you're going to be in a relationship, especially if he's an atheist and a Marxist, which is not great. That's not good. Where there's going to be a lot of spiritual problems. I'm assuming you're the father though. And here's the thing, if she is your daughter, you still have spiritual headship over her. He doesn't have any spiritual headship over her until they're married, if they get married. So you as the father still have spiritual headship with her, which means your prayers are going to be way more efficacious than, let's say, him wanting to pull her away from the faith or something like that. So pray and fast for your daughter, because truly she might be in the same situation I was and just not see it. So yeah, I just highly suggest that you guys keep praying for your daughter, truly, because eventually, hopefully she'll realize it. And if things do come to marriage, you might have to have a real conversation with her. But unfortunately it's hard because, she might get super defensive and might want to go along with it even harder if she's getting, pushback from you guys. So just tread lightly, but one thing that you always can do is just pray and fast for her, and that will always help. So yeah, definitely a problem. Is on and off dating in itself a toxic thing? Yes. I do say yes, because if you break up once, that's okay. I know one girl who broke up with her boyfriend, now they're married, but like they broke up, they were broken up for a couple years, and then they came back together, and now they're married and they have a kid. That is the minority. That does not normally happen. And you cannot place yourself in that position and be like, oh, I'm a part of the minority. No, it just happens like you would be a part of the minority. That just doesn't happen, in general. It's a very rare situation. So I would say if you have an on and off again relationship, yes, that is toxic, because you shouldn't want a break from them. You shouldn't need a break from them. We were on a break, Ross situation. That shouldn't be a thing. And a lot of people take toxic relationships for being normal these days, and then they land themselves in a lot of hot water when they get married. They're put in the same situation, like the same room together, financial hardships, children come along, etc. And then they find out that like they have no actual foundation of a relationship, and then all of a sudden divorce is on the table, which divorce should never be on the table. But I've been seeing that pop up time and time again in a women's group that I'm in, and it just flabbergasts me every single time. Every time. Literally. Like, there were so many warning signs. These women, they'll talk about their marital problems. They'll just air all the dirty laundry about their husband out there for everyone to see, for everyone to judge without having the husband's perspective. It's disgusting. And of course, men do this too. I'm not only blaming the women. But one thing that seems consistent is that the women already knew about all of these problems and just thought that, oh, getting married would fix it. When has that fixed anything? Okay? It doesn't. It magnifies issues, because marriage is a vocation. Marriage is beautiful, but it's also a cross, and it's meant to basically burn out the imperfections that you have. Your spouse and you will have matching wounds that will touch, and you guys are going to have problems. But if you guys have a sturdy foundation of love, willing the good of another, even when you don't feel like it, that is love. But too many people are very selfish, very narcissistic. It's about me, me, me. They care more about finances than they do about their vocation or their marriage. It's just very backwards. It's very, very sad. I see it. And it keeps 10 if not 15 posts a day from people who complain about their relationships, about their husbands or their wives. And I'm just flabbergasted that anyone would be comfortable saying anything like that about their spouse online, let alone to complete strangers. So it's like, well, what do you say to them, to their face? Probably nothing, because One of the women, she said she hadn't even talked to her husband about it yet. And I was just like, what are you talking about? You're airing all of this online for everyone else to see, but you haven't even spoken to your husband? Like, are you dumb? Like, what? It's just, it's just so immature. It's just so immature. It's so sad to see. And it's just very, very disheartening to see so many people be only in 3 months of marriage and already want a divorce because of something they were already aware of before the marriage. And they were like, oh, it's going to change when we're married. No, you guys have to work that out before marriage. And if it's a deal breaker, you're not getting married, I guess. It's just, it's ridiculous, I must say. So never show strangers your weaknesses because they will tear you apart like ice to concrete. Ice to concrete. Does ice tear apart on concrete? I'm sorry, Adam. I'm BSing, but it's really funny. I was like, tear you apart like a a bodybuilder at a wet t-shirt conference or contest. Like they just like, you know, they'll tear you apart like that. Anyways, yeah, it's just very crazy. But, you know, you're going to have that sometimes. So it's just crazy. I had to tell my friend she needed to get out of a bad relationship. I'll tell you specifically later. Luckily she did. Well, I'm glad she got out of the bad relationship, Clay. Because, yeah, it's just, you know, like crazy. It's just so weird, you know? I don't even know. Love dating red pills from Amber. Thank you, Jean Paul. I appreciate it. I just get really frustrated, very passionate about the dating scene these days because I get a lot of dating questions. And not that, like, I never want you guys to specifically feel dumb or stupid or anything like that. Like, that's not the thing. But there are some situations that I see from people where I am like, this is just, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so obvious. And I don't really have that with you guys. But it's like when I go online and I see certain Catholics, you know, or even just secular people airing like crazy dating toxic stuff, I'm just like, why would you say that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It's crazy. Okay, let's see here. I'm so sorry. I am trying. It just like blew up again. Okay, here we go. Any advice for folks who want to start their Catholic YouTube channel? First of all, I would say make sure you're called to this. I think that's the most important thing. There are a lot of people, and I think it's great that they want to break into the Catholic content creator world. Great. I think that's wonderful. I don't think there's anything inherently bad about that. The problem really does come from intentionality. I think you can have a great intention but not be called to content creation. It really does take a specific type of person to do this type of work. And sometimes you can only tell that if you actually start doing it and then you realize like, oh, this isn't for me. But I have seen so many Catholic content creators try to break into the content creation and then they realize it's not for them, but they built up thousands of followers. And now all of a sudden they don't want to do it anymore. And that's fine. I think there does come a point where maybe you retire from it. Maybe you decide to do something else. You know, I don't know. But it's more like they do it, they gain a big following, people who love their content and everything like that, and then they just drop off and they never post anything again. It happens a lot, and I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with that either. But it's more of just saying, I think it's really important to make sure that you're called to this type of stuff and that you really discern it in front of the Blessed Sacrament and make sure it's what God is calling you to do, not something that you want to do because you want followers and fame or money, which I have yet to see. So it's one of those things that I get a ton of emails from people who are like, how do I gain a following on YouTube? How do I do this? And that's the wrong mindset. I'm not saying that's you specifically. I'm just saying I've had a lot of people who have emailed me and they're like, how did you get this following on Instagram? How did you do that? I didn't do any of it. genuinely, I just post and it happens. It's God. It's not me. I'm just a tool in his hands, and I just use my platform to try and glorify him as best as I can. But the thing is that I've done this for 5 years, and I have always felt called to this. And every single day I pray, God, if this is not your will, then take it away. And every single day he's let this ministry continue. And so as long as he wills this ministry to continue, it's going to continue. And so, when I get emails like, oh, how do I get a following? How do I do? Those people just don't have the right mindset for this type of work. This isn't a, get rich or get famous, etc. It's really more about just doing work for Christ. And whether or not that comes with perks or not, you always have to have the understanding that this is for God, not for myself. He must increase, so I must decrease so he can increase. And it can be very difficult, especially when you get wrapped up, in all of the stress of content creation and also the hate you're going to get. And so I would say just tread lightly. I would say make some videos, but also pray about it. Make sure you're really discerning if this is what God wants you to do. I don't think there's anything wrong if you decide like, oh yeah, I feel called to this. God's opening the doorways for this to happen, etc. And then you pursue that, and that's awesome, like 100%. But, it's one of those things that it's just discernment. Every day is just discernment. So I do wish you the best though. And if you do, send me an email and send me your channel and stuff, and I'll check it out, Yes, you are very welcome, Oscar. 10 out of 10. YouTube can be exhausting, but I've met so many good people in the area my channel is about. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like being able to meet like-minded people is awesome. It's great for that. 10 out of 10. Is my mailing address up to date? Not yet. Not yet, I don't think. But they're forwarding mail, so it should still get forwarded here, even if, it's back home. Well, back in Illinois, I should say. So yeah, there's that. Hang on. I always swallow wrong when I drink kombucha. It hurts. Okay. Europe went through 2 world wars, so naturally they decided to band together in political and economic conditions. Huh? Maybe I'm out of the loop. Maybe that was a conversation with something else. Okay. 10 out of 10. I'm going to do, whoa. Crazy. I lost my place. I'm sorry, guys. I lost my place. Where is it? All right. I don't know where everyone went. I'm so sorry. I lost so many questions. I'll take one more question and then I'm going to hop off because it's almost 10 o'clock. So got to get ready for bed. Okay. Of course, I will pray for you, Jose. Absolutely. Low Latin Mass or high Latin Mass? I am a fan of low Latin Mass. My husband is a fan of high Latin Mass. So I prefer low Mass. I like going to Mass early. I like the silence. I like the contemplation. I like being able to meditate on the Mass and the mystery of the Mass. I love that. I also love high Mass, but for me, it's very overstimulating. It can be very loud. It's a lot longer than low Mass, which is totally fine. Like, don't rush Calvary, I love all the bells and whistles. The incense is beautiful. I mean, it's just so beautiful. But for me personally, low Mass is really just where I feel more connected with God. I'm less distracted. I feel like I can actually close my eyes, not have to worry about what's going on around me. I mean, we're kneeling 90% of low Mass anyways, so better get those quads, quad workout. And I just feel more connected in that way, and it's just very peaceful right in the morning. And then after that, I feel like I can start my day. And yeah, I love low Mass. Low Mass is definitely my favorite. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me and just kind of, talking and stuff. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I can go live again at some point. Again, I have a live stream. I have a talk in Maryland, in Peabody, Maryland. kind of near Boston. The second to the, I think it's on the second, and it's completely free. So you guys can check that out. I believe the website is nscatholic.org, and you guys can, if you guys are in the Maryland area, you guys can come see me talk. 10 out of 10. Well, guys, I really do appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and I will talk to you guys next time. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.